thank you, Vince. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Anytime you can make the call, we're here.
I've been looking for some auto parts.
I can hook you up really.
That's good, yeah.
I know a guy.
You know a guy?
I know a guy.
Here's what we're here to talk about: how the economy works and how people can find work. We got some challenges to face, and Vince, I want to thank you for giving me the chance to come and visit with people involved in this community. We got some entrepreneurs, and we got some hard workers, and we got some educators, and people helping people get education. And that's what we're going to talk about. First, I want to thank you, Vince, and your family for greeting me. Nothing like being in the presence of an entrepreneur, somebody who dreams big dreams, works hard, and ends up employing good, hard-working people to provide a product somebody wants to buy.
That's the American dream.
That is the American dream. I said, did you buy this company? He said, no, I started it on a shoestring. And it's one of the most fantastic aspects about our society, and frankly, it's the entrepreneurial spirit that we're heralding today that is enabling us to overcome a lot of obstacles. Before I talk about the obstacles, I do want to say thanks to my friend Governor George Pataki, the great governor of this state. He's a great buddy of mine, and he and Libby are great friends with Laura and me as well. He's doing a good job. He's a solid, smart, capable public servant. I also flew down on an airplane today with two fine members of the United States Congress. Peter King from this part of the world. Peter, thank you for coming. If he looks different, he just had some cataract surgery. So he doesn't wear his glasses anymore. I said, you're looking more beautiful than ever, Congressman. And I appreciate my friend Vito Fossella is with us today. Where are you, Vito? Glad you're here. These are two strong leaders who care deeply about the citizens of the communities which they represent. They were talking New York the entire way from Washington, D.C. to here, and I appreciate calling them friends. I'm also proud that Jim Garner, the mayor of Hempstead, thank you for coming, Big Jim. Jim, he's the president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. That's a big deal, and I want to thank you for working with the administration on urban policy. I appreciate very much all the local and state officials who are here. I know there's a lot of members of the State House and the Senate and the local governments. I appreciate you coming out to say hello. It's an honor that you would show up and say hi to the President. I'm also very proud of the fact that John Vigiano is here. Where are you, John? He's a buddy of mine. There you are. Hey, John. Is Mama with you? Is your wife with you? Oh, there she is. Oh, yeah. John's just a good buddy. I had to say hello to him. He's a friend. He's one of the great Americans, and he's the dad of a great American family. And I'm proud you came, John. Thank you all for being here. Today at the airport, I met Rich McKeon. You probably never heard of Rich. Rich is a volunteer. He's a mentor. He's involved with Operation Hope. Teaches youngsters about the financial math, about how the economy works. He's been a member of Big Brothers and Big Sisters. The reason I bring up Rich is because, you know, a lot of times we talk about the strength of our country. One of the strengths, of course, is our military. And by the way, I'm going to keep it strong. Another strength is the fact that we've got that we're a wealthy nation compared to others, and we intend to keep it that way. But the true strength is the hearts and souls of our citizens. That's really the strength of America. It's the strength of this country. You know, we can change the country one heart at a time. When somebody takes time out of their lives to love a neighbor like you'd like to be loved yourself. And that happens. That happens in every neighborhood in America. That happens whether government says do it or not. People follow their heart because they hear a higher calling. And here's old Rich, you know, he's working to make a living, and yet he's taking time out of his life to surround a child with love and to give a child a little extra knowledge. Where are you, Rich? Thank you for coming. I appreciate your service. My call is, if you want to serve your country like Rich is, find a way to help somebody in need. Many of you probably are, and if you are, thanks a lot from the bottom of this nation's collective heart. Listen, we've overcome a lot. See, I'm sitting here next to Vince. He's optimistic about the future. He just told me he was. I don't think you were faking.
No question about that.
We'll see.
We live in a great country.
Well, that too. And but I want you to remember what we've been through, just to keep this conversation in perspective about why we should be optimistic about what the future of this country. First of all, we went through a recession. That means things were going backwards. The stock market started to decline. That affects people who had savings in March of 2000, and then we had negative growth. And during negative growth, people who work for a living begin to wonder whether or not there's going to be a job. That's what that means. There's uncertainty. Business leaders and planners wonder whether or not the markets are going to be available for them to sell a product. And we started to recover, and then the enemy hit us. And you know what it meant to have the enemy hit us, particularly in neighborhoods like these. John knows what it meant to have the enemy hit us. It was a devastating blow. It was a blow to our psychology. It was a blow to our economy. By the way, this nation rallied. It rallied in large part thanks to the citizens of the great state of New York, because they refused to be intimidated by terrorists and killers. It rallied because of the courage of the firefighters and police officers that people all around the country got to know via their television sets. It rallied. We're a strong nation. And yet that attack hurt us. It hurt us economically. They say over 1 million jobs were lost because of that attack. And then we started to recover because we're a strong nation full of strong people. And then we found out some of the corporate citizens of America forgot what it meant to be a responsible citizen. In other words, they didn't tell the truth. They didn't tell the truth to their shareholders. They didn't tell the truth to their employees. But we passed tough laws. And by the way, that hurt the economy. If you can't have trust in the business leaders of the economy will suffer. It hurt. And so we passed tough laws. And so we're running them, these people are being held to account. Let me put it to you that way. Justice is being delivered. We will not tolerate dishonesty in the boardrooms of America. And then I made a tough but necessary decision. The lesson of September 11th is this: we must deal with threats before they fully materialize. If you think there's a threat, you must deal with it early, before it is too late. That's the lesson of September the 11th. It's a lesson people must never forget. I looked at the intelligence in Iraq and saw a threat. The United States Congress looked at the same intelligence. They saw a threat. The United Nations Security Council, right up the road there, looked at the intelligence and it saw a threat. And so I went to the UN and said, look, let's deal with the man. He needs to reveal, disclose, and destroy weapons programs. That's what he needs to do. The world spoke, not just the United States of America. We spoke. He chose defiance. I had a choice to make at that point in time. Either trust the word of somebody who had deceived the world and had used weapons of mass destruction on his own people, or defend America. And given that choice, I will defend our country every time. The march to war hurt the economy. Laura reminded me a while ago that, just remember what was on the TV screens. She calls me George W. George W. I call her First Lady. No, anyway. She said, we said march to war on our TV screens. It's hard to run a business if you're marching to war. It's not conducive to capital investment. You know, marching to war is a negative thought. And if you're in the business world and you're trying to hire people or you're looking for work, it's not a conducive time to do so. Now we're marching to peace. We took the tough decision, but now we're marching to peace. We've overcome a lot, and our economy is growing. We've got robust growth in the last half of 2003. Inflation is low. Interest rates are low. Manufacturing activity is up. Home ownership is at the highest rate ever. Unemployment rate is at 5.6%. There's still more to do, don't get me wrong. There's still people looking for work. There's still people worried about the job they now hold. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that before we get to some of our participants. But let me remind you why I think we're able to overcome all we did. One, the entrepreneurial spirit is strong in America, and we intend to keep it that way. Two, the workers of America are the best in the world, the most productive, best, hardest working people on the face of the earth. And three, we cut the taxes. If a family has more money to spend, it means they're going to demand an additional good or a service. And when they do, somebody's going to produce the good or a service. And when somebody produces it, somebody's going to work. That's what that means. When somebody goes and buys a car because of the extra money they got in their pocket, they just might be buying a part for that car right from this shop right here. At least Vince wants them to.
That's okay by me.
And if they buy a part for the car manufactured here, it means this workforce is more stable. That's what that means. Tax relief work. And you hear a lot of talk in Washington about tax relief and taxing the rich and all that business. Let me tell you something. First, good policy says you cut the taxes on everybody who pays taxes, not try to pick and choose. Secondly, we increased the child credit to $1,000 per child to help families, and we're going to hear about some families who have been helped by this. The other thing we did is we reduced the marriage penalty. I mean, it doesn't seem to make much sense to penalize marriage when you're trying to encourage marriage in our society, yet the tax code did, and we made that better. But you know what else we did? And this is important for people to understand when you hear this talk about the tax code. When you cut the taxes on individuals, you really reduce the taxes on small businesses as well, because most small businesses are sole proprietorships and subchapter S corporations. And you see, when you cut the taxes on a small business, it gives that small business owner more money to invest. And when that person invests, it means somebody is more likely to keep a job. Make no mistake about this, that tax cut was good for the small businesses of the United States of America, and that's one of the reasons why this economy is so strong. A couple of other things, if you don't mind.
Anytime.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I told you there's more work to do. Let me tell you some of the things that we need to do. These tax cuts expire, and which means taxes are going up on people. That's what that means. When you hear we're going to repeal the tax cut, that's Washington, D.C. code for I'm fixing to raise your taxes. That's what that means. It doesn't make any sense to raise taxes on people who are beginning to employ people. If you're a small business, we shouldn't be raising the taxes on the small business owners. We shouldn't be raising taxes on the hard-working families. It makes no sense to take money out of the pockets of the people that are driving this economy forward. So we need to make the tax cuts permanent. Congress needs to listen to the voices of the people. There's too many junk lawsuits in our society. We need tort reform in order for people to expand their businesses. You hear talk about outsourcing. I'm as concerned about outsourcing as the next person. But the way to deal with outsourcing is to make America a better place to do business, not a worse place. Raising taxes will make it harder to create jobs. Lawsuits make it harder to create jobs. We need an energy policy so people can plan their businesses around a solid supply of energy. We need to be less dependent on foreign sources of energy if we want to make sure jobs stay here. You know how else you make sure the jobs stay home? Is you have a health care policy that's reasonable and the prices are, and we do something about the high cost of health care for employees and employers. There's three things, practical things we can do. One, associated health care plans to allow small businesses to pool risk in order to be able to have affordable health care for their employees. Health savings accounts, which will help employees and employers better afford health care. And national medical liability reform to stop the junk lawsuits which are running up the cost of health care for these businesses. One other thing we need to make sure of. We need to make sure we don't become isolated from the world. What I call economic isolationism is beginning to creep into the dialogue. People are saying, well, we'll stop jobs from going overseas by making sure we put up walls and barriers between the United States and the rest of the world. That's lousy policy. You're about to hear a business owner that relies upon exports. People work for him because he's able to export. 1 in 5 jobs, factory jobs in America exist because they're selling products somewhere else. 6 million people in this country work as a result of somebody saying, this workforce of ours is so good, I'm going to build a plant like Honda right outside of Cleveland, Ohio, for example. Consumer prices will go up if we wall ourselves from the rest of the world. Economic isolationism is bad economic policy, and it will cost people jobs. It'll make it harder for you to keep your work. So what I want to do is I want to take a different tack. You see, our markets are pretty open for other people. And what we're going to do is tell other people, if our markets are open for you, you open yours for us. You see, we want to have trade, but trade that is fair. Level, we want a level playing field. We can outcompete with anybody. See, pessimistic people say America can't compete. An optimistic person says we can compete with anybody. Just make sure the rules are fair and the playing field is level. Now, this plan of ours is a plan that says we're not going to have outsourcing because we want to make sure we got better jobs right here at home. Better, high-paying, high-quality jobs. And the way to do that is have an optimistic, pro-growth economic policy. And that's what I intend to put forth to the United States Congress. You ready to go? I've been talking too much. And if there appears to be a lot of hot air in here, probably because of me. Robert Silverstein's with us today. Let me just say, Robert does not make a living by talking too much, like I do. Robert is an entrepreneur. He's got a very interesting little business. And Robert, do you mind telling us what you do?
No problem, Mr. President. We produce specialty oils and fluids for industrial applications. We're also a licensee, exclusive licensee of the Boeing Company for specialty lubricants that are used in aircraft manufacture. Because of these two different product lines, we've been able to export to over 25 countries worldwide and growing continuously year in and year out with new countries as well. In fact, we sell to almost every major Asian country there is: Japan, China, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore. We sell into India, Europe, and North America, as well as Canada. This past year, we went into 2 new countries we hadn't shipped into before, which was South Africa and the Czech Republic. So we're enthused. We are excited. We built our business on exports. It's a very important area of sales for us. We think that we can continue to grow it, and we look forward to any help as far as the small businesses to help us keep exporting, which I think is very important for the United States, is to sell your products not only at home but overseas. Let other countries put their money out, bring it back home.
Yeah, let me ask you, how many employees you got?
We've got 13 employees right now.
So, first of all, we're talking to a small business owner. You know how many businesses like Robert's are around the country? We're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of people who employ 20 people or less. It's really the backbone of the economy when you think about it, isn't it? small businesses, vibrant small businesses all over. Did you hire anybody recently?
We just hired somebody this past November, and we just hired somebody just this past February. That's 2 in the last 4 months, 5 months, and we plan this year to hire a technology hire to boost the technology base of our company, so we could expand our sales even further, as well into the new countries that we're selling to now, as well as new countries.
So he's gone from like 12 to 15. I heard the other day somebody kind of belittling that you know. Oh, they were talking about a small business who only increased their employees by 2 or 3 people. See, a country is vibrant when you've got small businesses who are optimistic and excited and are willing to take on additional employees. It's not just 3 employees of Robert. There are thousands of Roberts who are hiring people. Most new jobs in America are created by small business owners. And good government policy, good tax policy, rewards entrepreneurs like Robert. So, Robert, I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank you for employing people. I'm going to tell you something. If we fall to prey to economic isolationism, the jobs that he now has in his company are going to be vulnerable. If he can't export, if there's trade wars, if people throw up barriers, his people won't be working. We need to be confident in this country. We need to say, if you're going to accept, if we're going to accept your product, you make sure you accept ours. We can compete with anybody. Robert's showing you he can do that. And I want to thank you for being a good business leader, Robert, and thanks for coming.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate that.
Good job. Real good. All right, Vince. Yeah, I met your dad. Yeah, I got a good one, too. And mother, by the way. Are you still telling him what to do? Yeah. Barr's still telling me what to do, too. Listen. So Vince started his own business. By the way, Robert's grandfather started his. Pretty neat, isn't it, to be talking to the grandson of an entrepreneur who had enough faith to leave it to the dad, and the dad passed it on to Robert. One of the problems we have in order for families to leave businesses is the death tax. Death tax is a bad tax. Death tax means we're going to tax a person's assets twice. Once when they're living, and the second time after they're not. And it is a bad tax. It makes it hard for entrepreneurs to build up their companies and leave their assets to whom they want to leave them to. Congress started passing that, getting rid of the death tax, and we just got one of the reasons why we need to make the tax cut permanent is so the death tax is gone. So dreamers can leave their assets to whomever they want. And yeah, I'm ready. Tell us about how you started. I mean, here you are, good-looking guy. Wondering what you're going to do with yourself?
USA Industries was started in 1985 with 3 employees, and you met one in the back.
Yeah, where is he?
He's in the back seat.
There he is. No, he's working.
He's working.
I mean, sitting, not working. Salvatore. Yes, sir.
And it's a situation, the fact that we were very, very fortunate. The reason is we learned a long time as young people to work hard. We didn't learn to work smart. That came afterwards. We had an opportunity, and what we did is we took it. For many, many years, for 9 years, we worked as a small company. We operated out of 8,000 square feet. 8,000 square feet, we wound up saying, you know what, it's time, the American dream. Well, like I own my own home, I want the American dream of my own building. So with the help of the Town of Islip Economic Development, with the help of Governor Pataki's group over here, we were able to basically live the second level of my American dream, the American dream of owning your own building. We were fortunate enough to be able to take guidance which they offered, help, direction, insight, and they helped to bring us partially where we are. The help of my people, the help of the opportunities, the help of my family, basically, which has always backed us up, and friends over there who are customers and have been for a long time. These are people, basically, that are all very, very well loved here.
What do you do?
We manufacture automotive parts and remanufacture automotive parts. Hey, this is what it's all about. This is what it's all about.
Well, tell people what that means. You manufacture automobile parts.
In a normal industry, you have parts basically which, let's say, would be used once and thrown away. We're a little bit different. We're an environmental type company that what we do is we take our parts, we take the things that would normally go into landfills, we take them apart, we rebuild them, we employ people, we put people to work, we create jobs, and in essence we've been going. We've been fortunate enough, some people have classed us as an environmental company. Well, the reality is the fact that we're not an environmental company, we're a company that makes lives for people. We've created opportunities and direction. The opportunities and directions have been inspired by now you, with our new proposals and our new situations and our new tax cuts that are going to enable us to go forward. We're in a town, basically, that has had tax decreases for 10 years. So I'm hoping to send some of them to Congress. Right? It's in a situation, the fact that we've had a state guiding hand in everything that we've done. We've been blessed. This is a company that's blessed, and we've blessed other people's lives for it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. First of all, you're getting a little backwards. Government doesn't create wealth. All government does is create an environment for you who's got a good idea and willing to work to succeed. That's the difference between different visions of government. Okay. He's a subchapter S corporation, which means he pays tax at the individual income tax rate. And so when you hear him talking tax for the rich, here he is. He's a small business owner. You know, they're trying to run his taxes up as a business owner. It doesn't make any sense to be raising taxes on small businesses. Are you hiring anybody?
Well, let's put it this way. Last year, we were fortunate enough to have 208 great employees. Now we're fortunate enough to have 221 employees. We're looking at the possibility, and we're out here discussing things with our real estate agents about the possibility of another 30,000 square feet of manufacturing potential, which would possibly create another 20 to 25 new jobs, and pray to God, more.
Yeah, see, he's hiring people. Why do we want to take money out of his pocket when he's hiring people? We don't. Now, let me tell you another thing. Part of the tax code said that if you make an investment, you get a tax incentive to make the investment. In other words, we accelerated depreciation. That's a long word for saying we're trying to encourage the Vinces of the world to go out and buy some equipment. That was part of the tax plan. Some businesses need additional equipment, additional computers, additional software, and there was an incentive to go out and purchase them. Did you buy any equipment?
Oh, yeah.
Well, could you share us with it what it was?
It'd be my pleasure. We spent a lot of our money basically in technology. The technology where we've spent our money in machinery, things like that, enable us to compete. We compete against
What kind of machine?
We went out and we bought some heavy-duty air conditioning compressors, things like that, not air conditioning, air compressors. And the reality of our air compressors, they're enabling us to basically to do things more efficient. So besides the fact that the benefit of what the proposal and the tax plan was, we were able to save money on our utility costs. So now we're even more energy efficient.
See, there's a lot of talk about productivity increases. It means his workers are more productive. They can make more product in the same amount of time as before. That means more productive. And the reason they're more productive is because he bought some equipment. And one of the reasons why he bought the more equipment is because the tax code encouraged him to do so. Congress will take that away unless they make the tax cut permanent, by the way. Let me tell you something else that's interesting so that everybody understands. When he goes out and buys an air compressor, somebody has to make the air compressor. And when somebody makes the air compressor, it means somebody's more likely to find a job. The economy works when you stimulate small business owners and consumers. It works as a result of people meeting demand. And that's what we try to do. We try to create more demand. We wanted Vince to say, I need a new compressor, and encourage him to buy it. And he did. His workers are more productive, he's more competitive, and somebody had to make the compressor. And that's the way the U.S. economy works with good government policy. The problem is that when you're raising people's taxes and you're increasing their regulations and you're walling off America, you make it more difficult for Vince to be aggressive in creating more jobs. And that's why I'm glad you invited me here. Keep hiring people.
We intend to keep hiring people, but you've also created the environment. We have interest rates that enable us to go out and borrow that my parents don't remember how successful this situation's become. So with the situation and the opportunities of lower interest rates, and more than anything, the tax savings that come back to people, that come back to America. My accountants are in the audience. They're happy.
Yeah, it's good. Well, I'm glad they're happy. Wait till you get their bill. Then you won't be happy. Okay. Pedro Ramos, ¿cómo está Pedro? Pedro works here. He's, how many children you got? ¿Cuántos niños?
I got 2 children. I got a wife. I got a house. I own a house.
Fantastic.
I've been working for him almost 14 years. And I've been doing, I mean, he's been doing great for me. He's the best boss that I have in this country, and I think that I live in a very good country. We have such a good opportunities in this country, and I want to focus, you know, to get better future for my children. My refund taxes, I always use it to use it in my house to fix all, you know, my house, and I invest all the money, my refund in my house.
Pedro, where were you born?
I born in El Salvador.
El Salvador. Got a great president, by the way. Paco Flores is one of my good friends.
He's a good friend.
Yeah, he's a good fella. And you worked here 14 años?
Yes.
14 years he's worked
14
here?
years, yes.
Very good.
That's true.
How old are your children?
The older one is 9.
How old?
Están,
there.
they're sitting right there.
There.
My wife is right there also.
Oh, thanks, yeah.
The second one, she's 6 years old.
6 years old?
Yes. I'm so proud of my children and my wife and my boss.
Now, I want you to listen to what he had. I want you to listen to what he said. He said, I took the tax relief and worked on my house. There's two things I want to share with you on that. One, there's nothing better than a society which encourages people to own something, isn't there? Either own your own business. How about the fact that this is a fellow who's born in El Salvador, comes here to our country, and now owns his own home? Isn't that one of the spectacular aspects? The tax relief we passed, his family saved $1,900 in taxes. Now that doesn't sound like a lot to people in Washington, probably. I know it sounds a lot to the congressmen who are here. But that's a lot to Pedro.
Yes.
Think about that $1,900, what that can mean. That's, by the way, because of the child credit and the marriage penalty and reducing the 10% tax bracket. His family has $1,900 more of their own to spend. And so he made a decision. He said, I'm going to fix up my house. Well, you can't fix it up out of air. He's got to go buy things to fix it up with. I bet you bought some paint. Didn't you?
Correct. Yes.
Paint?
Yes.
Yeah. See?
Paint.
So somebody had to make the paint.
And this year I planned away my refund to do my fence. I wanted to do all my the outside of my house.
So that's good. That's how the economy works. Pedro takes the extra money in his pocket. He goes, Home Depot, where'd you go?
I go to Home Depot.
See?
Right. Yes.
Now you do. So he goes to Home Depot and he buys something. Well, somebody had to make the product. The economy works when people demand things, and we increase demand. Let me tell you the problem. Congress needs to make the child credit and the marriage penalty and the 10% bracket reductions permanent right now. These are the parts of the tax code that begin to expire. They need to make all taxes permanent. They need to start with these three. Otherwise, this good fella pays $913 more in taxes next year. See? If they don't make the tax cuts permanent, it's a tax increase on Pedro. He pays more taxes. It makes no sense to be taxing this good family right now more money. It makes no sense. Congress needs to make the child credit and the marriage penalty and the 10% bracket as a beginning. Make them permanent this year. So Pedro's got more money to spend. The North Shore Long Island Jewish Health System. She is here with Maria Reyes. Huh? Yeah, exactly. Myra Reyes. As I was saying, Myra Reyes. Yeah. But why don't you tell us about your program, about your vision, and then maybe introduce Myra? Sure. Thanks.
Thank you very much. North Shore Long Island Jewish Health System employs over 32,000 people, of which 7,000 are registered nurses. In my role as the Chief Nurse Executive for the health system, I'm sure it comes as no surprise to you, a major concern for me is the nursing shortage. About 4 years ago, in conjunction with collaboration with the Nurse Executive Council of the system, we started to lay out strategies and action plans to address the shortage. But we really realized early on in the program that before we could do anything, we had to answer one large question, and that question was, where will the future nurses come from? Thankfully, we didn't spend a lot of time on the question because the answer we realized was in our midst. The answer was in our hospitals. The future nurses to fill our vacant spots will come from our dietary departments, from our laboratories, from radiology, from unit receptionists, and from nursing attendants already working in the patient care units. We felt so strongly about this, but we had to make sure that our hunch was right, that there were people out there who wanted to become a registered nurse, who had dreams of becoming a registered nurse, but for whatever reason, whether they be economic, whether they be social, whether they be motivational, were not able to get themselves into school or continue school. So we chose one hospital in the health system, the North Shore University Hospital, as our pilot. And we sent out a word to our employees, our unlicensed employees, that if you've ever had a desire or dream to become a registered nurse, write us a 100-word essay about what it means to you to become a nurse. We received close to 400 responses from one hospital. And the letters were touching, and they were moving, and they brought tears to our eyes, because these are people who secretly were in different positions, but secretly really wanted to fulfill their dream and had not given up on that dream. With this information, we partnered with Nassau Community College here on Long Island to create an on-site associate's degree program for nursing. Now, the college, for their part in the partnership, was they agreed to give some of the liberal arts programming at the hospital. We felt it was important for the employees who are going to be going back into this program. Many of them have been out of school for years, sometimes even decades. And it's very difficult. School is difficult as it is. So we felt if we could get them into an environment that they felt familiar with, going to class with people who they work side by side with, that would ease some of their tensions and help them to be more successful in their quest. On the part of the employee, we required two things. One was they had to meet the entrance requirements for the college. And two, that once they were accepted into the program, we required them to work as hard as they could to achieve their dream. For the health system's part, we had three major requirements for ourselves and promises to our employees. The first one was that we would pay the tuition costs up front so that there would be no out-of-pocket expenditures for tuition to our employees. For many of them, that was the reason why they had not gone back to school, because raising a family, middle-income people, they didn't have extra money to be putting towards college education. So we gave them that, and I will tell you that was a very large attraction and incentive for our employees. Our second requirement for ourselves and promise to our employees is that we would provide them with mentorship, a coach, somebody who, as they started the program, somebody who would be in touch with them throughout the course of the semester to make sure they were doing okay, to offer them encouragement, to offer them advice, to tutor them if necessary if they were lagging behind, do whatever we could to help them realize their dream. And the third aspect that we promised our employees, and I think this was what makes this program the most unique, is that we do not require our employees to sign a service agreement, which means that when they graduate, they are free to work in any hospital they want. They don't have to stay with the North Shore Long Island Jewish Health System. We hope they do. But for us, we felt this was a win-win situation. A win for the employee because if they were successful in their quest, they would achieve their great dream of becoming a registered nurse. And a win for us for achieving our mission as a large healthcare organization, because whether they stayed with us, and again we hope they would, or whether they went someplace else, we felt our mission as an organization was to deliver high quality patient care. And if we put one more nurse into the workforce to lessen the shortage, we felt we had met our mission. And one person, Mr. Bush, can make a difference. And this program has been very successful. Because I think it's important. We've had the program in existence since the summer of 2001, and we've graduated to date 20 new RNs, with the hopes of graduating 10 more every year for at least the next 10 years and beyond.
Yeah, you're doing great. Thank you. Very good job. Unbelievably articulate. Yeah, Maureen, first of all, I was really well spoken. I could take a lesson or two from you. A couple of points that I think are important. One, there are jobs. There are jobs that need workers. They need nurses. Oftentimes, people don't have the skills necessary to be a nurse. This hospital is an incredibly responsible group of people. Said, we'll train, we'll help, we'll pay for the training. And then the Nassau Community College stepped up and provided the curriculum, provided the trainers. We got an initiative in front of Congress, by the way, that will boost job training through the community college system. You hear people talking about worrying about outsourcing and jobs moving overseas, and one reason why is because they don't have the skills necessary to take the jobs of the 21st century. We have an obligation in society to help train the people for the jobs which exist. And so job training has got to focus in smart, practical ways. Maureen talked about a really practical job training program. I want to thank the NASA Community College people, if any are here, for being flexible and available to work with the hospital system to help people train to become nurses, to help them become skilled in the jobs which actually exist. I'll tell you one quick story, and then we're going to go to Myra. I was out in Arizona at a community college, and a woman who worked for a graphic artist, as a graphic design artist for 15 years, I believe it was, 12 to 15 years, a lot. And she went back to Mesa Community College and took a program to give her some additional skills in technology. And she stayed there for 6 months, got paid by way worker displacement money that Congress has provided as a result of trade policies. If somebody loses their job because of trade, you can get money necessary to learn the skills for a new job. And she made more money in her first year of her new job, having gone to get new skills and to be more productive, than she did after 15 years of being a graphic artist. So it's, not only does getting new skills help you find a job, it helps you find a higher paying job. And that's why, Maureen, I want to thank you for sharing your story. I want you to tell your hospital people thanks. I know my friend Fred Wilpon is on the board. Wish him all the best for the Mets this year. And but tell him, as importantly, he's done a good job in the hospital. Myra.
Yes.
Tell us about your story.
Oh, well, I'll tell you a little bit about my story. I came to this country in 1980, and ever since...
From where?
El Salvador.
El Salvador,
yes.
Come in. Hey, is there a large Salvadorian community here? Must be.
I believe so, yeah.
Muchas personas de El Salvador. Que bueno, say. Great people. Yes.
Well, ever since I have taken advantage of the wonderful opportunities this country has offered me, and in a positive way, though. Yes. I'm married. I have 2 children. My husband and my 2 children are here in the audience.
I don't know.
Somewhere there.
Oh, there they are.
Yes, yeah.
Good?
Yes.
So what were you doing prior to going back to school?
Well, I used to work I still work as a nurse assistant at North Shore University Hospital.
Right.
But now I'm looking forward for complete my education that I always dream of, being a nurse. Yes. It wouldn't be possible without the help of North Shore.
So you wrote an essay?
Of course I did. I don't even
Must have been a good one if they...
I hope so.
Well, 40 out of 400, I guess. I mean, did you say 400 applicants? And so far you've educated 40?
We graduated 20.
Graduated 20? Well, you 21st maybe. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Must have been a pretty good essay then.
Yeah. I'm halfway through with my education, and hopefully graduating within a year and a half.
Yes.
I'm trying. But I got to tell you, I have a very supportive husband, hardworking man. I wouldn't do it without him and the help of my kids, because they help me with essays and things that I had to write. I need help. I still need help.
They didn't write your essay, did they?
No, they did not. I did it at work. No, they did not.
Only you could share why your heart had directed you to be a nurse.
That's right. I always wanted to be a nurse. Yeah.
Did you want to be a nurse as a young child in your country, your home country?
When I left my country in 1980, I was a nursing student. I was 7 years, but I couldn't finish because I left my country. Yes, and through the years, raising a family, working hard, I didn't have a chance, but now is my chance to do it. My kids are growing up.
That's good. You know something? The story you just heard from Myra is it's a hard story. There's a lot of people who say, "Well, I can't possibly go back to school and learn skills for the new jobs." But this economy of ours is in transition. There's fantastic opportunities. In some cases, however, people are going to need to go learn new skills in order to take advantage of the situation. And it's hard. I fully understand. If you're a mom and you're kind of wondering whether or not it makes sense. But I want anybody out there listening to listen to Myra's story that you can improve yourself. that you can go back to school, and it can make a huge difference in your life. Am I putting words in your mouth to say it's making a big difference in your life?
No, it's the truth. And I'm hoping when I graduate, work for North Shore, and I know my salary is going to be twice as much. So I'm looking forward for that.
3 times?
3 times as much.
Really, Will?
Yeah, potential.
Yeah, she's got the chance to have 3 times her current salary as a result of having gone to school paid for by her potential employer. And it's amazing opportunities. And the reason why I'm so thrilled you all are here is that there are opportunities like that all over New York and the country. There's fantastic opportunities to gain new skills and become more productive, to take advantage of the new jobs of the 21st century. It's unsettling when the economy changes. I fully recognize that. But in the midst of changing economy, there are fantastic opportunities. And here is a great story of Myra Race, newly arrived to America. Well, not newly arrived, been here since 1980, but nevertheless, you know, is seizing the moment. Is taking advantage of the opportunity, and her salary is going to go up 3 times, and this good lady is going to have a better employee as a result of the training. By the way, their family saved $1,200 in tax relief. So when Congress starts thinking about whether or not to let those taxes go back up on the people, think about Myra. I'm not worried about the 2 congressmen over here, by the way. They're solid. But I want people to think about Myra. That $1,200 means a lot to Myra and her family. I know it doesn't sound like a lot in Washington, D.C. terms, but it's a lot to her.
I can tell you what I did with those $1,200.
Well, why don't you tell us then?
Well, really, because I have my son who's in college. He's graduating.
You don't look old enough to have a son in college.
Yeah, but
he's graduating in May. Fantastic.
Yes, but he's going to transfer. He's looking forward to transfer to another college to complete his degree in business administration.
Fantastic.
My daughter, 2 excellent students, honor students. So I'm proud of them, my whole family.
That's good.
Yes.
And so you're going to use the money to help your son?
Well, I really did, because when I got the tax refund money, I used it for his books, my books that I had to pay for. It helps a great deal.
Now see,
yes,
the tax relief helped her go back to school so she can make 3 times the amount of money possibly than she was making. The tax relief helps average Americans. Congress needs to make the tax relief permanent, otherwise she's going to be paying more taxes. It makes no sense to raise the taxes on Myra or Pedro or any of the entrepreneurs up here. We're doing good things with the people are doing good things with their own money. They're making this economy grow. Listen, I want to thank them for coming, and I want to thank you all for coming. I hope you get to share the same sense of optimism I do about the future of our country. When you hear about the entrepreneurial stories, you got to be optimistic. These guys are hiring people. They believe the future is going to be better. When you hear the story of compassion coming out of the local hospital, it's got to make you optimistic about the decency of the people of this country. And then when you hear about the stories of these hardworking citizens of our country who've got big dreams for their families and willing to achieve those big dreams, it's got to make you optimistic. I really am. Listen, the strength of this country is in the hearts and souls of our citizens. I want to thank the citizens up here today for sharing your hearts and for sharing your souls. May God bless you all, and may God continue to bless America.